Welcome into the shop, everybody. Real quick, I just want to say thanks to Liberty Safe for providing this cool safe. I'm going to tell you guys more about it in a little bit. It's a great place to keep these swords safe because they are valuable, and I'm pumped that Liberty Safe was willing to help me provide a place to put that. It also holds other cool tools that I have as well. So in this project, we're going to be building a display case for those Navy swords. So we're going to start this in the phase of dovetailing the case. I'm not going to show any of the milling and all that. So we're jumping right in to cutting dovetails because this case is going to be assembled with a real interesting dovetail that has a rabbet for a back. So I start by cutting the tails first. They're just hand sawn. I've already laid them out. I'm going to cut each tail out, and then I'm going to come back with a coping saw, and I'm going to take out the waste with the coping saw. Now, in my previous videos, because I've done quite a few dovetail videos recently, I didn't have the coping saw because I was just out of blades, and thankfully I went and got blades because it's way faster using the coping saw, but you can also use a chisel and chisel that waste out. But you can just tell by watching. You don't have to know a lot about this process to see that this is a pretty quick way to remove the waste. Now, even though we are using the coping saw, we are going to have to come back with a chisel and chisel back down to the line to get exactly where we need it to be. But the coping saw helps take the waste out really fast. And so that's what we're doing here. I have a knife wall or a knife line made, and I can just chisel back to that knife mark with my, I've got a 1/4-inch chisel. And I work each side, so I'll work this side, flip the workpiece over, and come back and meet in the middle. If you try to chisel all the way through, you're going to blow out the other side and mess your workpiece up. So while I'm working on this, let me explain the rabbet for this dovetail. Now, there's a book written by Mike Pekovich, who's a very talented woodworker that I aspire to, and he has a really great book. I'm going to link that in the description. And I've got the technique for these rabbets from that book. So after I cut these tails, I'm going to go to the table saw and cut the rabbet for the back of the case using a dado blade on the table saw, obviously. And we're going to cut both the tail board, which is what we're doing right now, and we're going to come back and cut the pin boards as well. But we haven't cut the pins out of that board yet. Now you can see the end of this board is blue because I've already got blue tape on it, which is what I use to transfer my tails to my pin board. So that's 4 cuts. You got the 2 sides and the top and the bottom all have the same rabbet. And now that we have that rabbet cut out on the table saw, I can start transferring the tails over to the pin board and start cutting pins. Now, this blue tape technique, you've seen it in a lot of my videos. I really enjoy using it. It's something that Mike Pekovich teaches in his book, the book I referenced, and I really like this technique. It works well for me. So the pins, the process is the same as the tails. You're just cutting straight as opposed to the angle. And then you're going to come back and take the waste out the same way we took the waste out on the tail boards. Use a coping saw and then chisel down to the line. We'll use the coping saw, take out the waste just like we did on the pin boards, or on the tail board, sorry. And then as well, we're going to come back and work with a chisel and chisel down. This needs to be nice and square, but the breakout or the tear out of that grain isn't a huge deal because there's not much of a glue joint there. It just needs to be straight across the whole board and square. So here you're going to kind of see how this rabbet works. I'm going to dry assemble this joint, and you can see that rabbet on the left side there. It's going to bottom out. Now I need to cut that left piece that's on the pin board, the distance that gap is. So I'm measuring that distance using dividers. I'm going to measure that gap, and then I'm going to transfer that over to the piece I need to cut, and that gets the exact cut I need to make. I did this on all 4 sides. I did them all individually because they're probably all a little bit different. So I can make the indentation with my dividers, then come back and scribe a line with my knife, and just take a handsaw and cut right to that line, and that should work. You shouldn't have to do any. I didn't have to do any paring here. I just came right off the saw. So give it a quick test fit, and you'll see exactly how this all comes together and how that rabbet works. It's a little bit of a different look, a little different feel. This is the first time I've ever done this, and I think it really came out nice, and it's a lot easier, I think, than putting the rabbet in after you've assembled the case. So there is a dado that holds a center shelf that's non-functioning. It holds an engraving that you'll see, and I'm just using a jig with a top-bearing bit to cut that dado in the sides, and then I'll come with a chisel and square up. Since we're obviously using a router bit, you're going to have a round corner, so you're going to square that up with a chisel. And then after I assemble the case, we'll slide the shelf in into those dados. So you'll get a kick out of this. I actually assembled this wrong, and I talk to myself and get kind of upset with myself, which is always funny when you hear it.
How many times have you built dovetails, dude? How many times have you done this? Good grief.
There's only one way you can assemble a dovetailed case or drawer, and obviously I did it out of sequence, and it's pretty obvious, and I did it wrong. So we all make mistakes. Don't be so hard on yourself. So after I glue up that case, I'm going to set it aside and start working on the door, which is a frame with. I don't honestly know how to name this joint. I found it in a book by Taj. I want to say his name's Taj Frid. Tage Frid. I always pronounce it wrong. He's a very talented woodworker. But it is almost like a slip joint with a rabbet in the back. And I cut it on my FMT mortising jig, and you'll see here I'm cutting the mortise section of it. It's a 3/8 cutter going right through the top of that rail, and then I'll cut a mating piece to that. That is what I would call the tenon. Now before we do that, this is funny too, also you can't leave your riving knife on and cut this. As you can tell, it's not working. You gotta pull that riving knife off. What I'm doing here is I'm cutting the rabbet for the glass. And I usually would do this with a dado blade, so it's all one pass, but I was being a little bit lazy in this build. And instead of using a dado blade, I'm using a single blade and making 2 cuts. So this is the first cut after we get that riving knife off and we can properly use the machine. We make this first cut, and then we'll flip the piece, readjust. I make all the cuts in all 4 parts of the door. Then I flip, readjust my fence and my blade, and cut out from the other side, and it creates a rabbet. And you'll see, I think I got a shot of it here for you to see. There it is. And so we're going to make a tenon that has offset shoulders that will slip into that mortise. And I'm actually a little off there. I don't know if anyone could tell that, but I could do a little better job on that. So now I'm going to cut the tenon section. So it's a cut on either cut. This is a really great jig that will cut mortise and tenons, by the way. Super quick, super fast, very accurate. And you can tell here how the shoulders are offset. This takes a little work to set this up. I'm not doing this on the first try, but I make these doors a lot, and you'll see here when it all comes together, it's a pretty cool and effective joint for a small door frame that needs glass, and it's strong. I leave it a little proud like that so that when I clamp it, it's pulling it together as opposed to bottoming out on the clamps. Hopefully that makes sense. So I get this all glued up, put it in the clamps, and square it up, and let it dry. Okay, so the door's been run through my white belt and sanded and flushed. Now I'm going to size it to the case. Also, I have hand planed the case, cleaned up the dovetails. A lot of work's been done to this point that you didn't see, but I can't show you everything. It'll be a 40-minute long video. So I set the frame on the case and just scribe it, It's not a lot of material. I don't like to leave too much overhang because then you just got a lot more work. And I'll use a hand plane. This is a Moxon vise that I'm clamping this into, and I'll use a low angle jack plane to just plane to those pistol lines. Typically, you want to try to get everything square, both case and door, but typically you're going to be a little off on both, and you're going to have to basically shape the door frame to the case. It's a full overlay. The same thing would be the case if it was an inset door. You'd have to shape it and get your reveals right. So I'm leaving it about an 1/8 3/16 long on the bottom to give a point to grab it and lift it. And then I'm putting a little chamfer. I'm using a pretty cool little block plane here by Lee Nielsen. It has a skew blade. And I'm just putting a little chamfer on there so it has a nice feel to it when you reach down there and open the door. It also looks a little cleaner when you look at it from the side. So now we need to install the back. I've pre-made all the planks for this. This is all made out of a stick of white oak that I just resawed them out. They're about 1/4 of an inch thick, and then I cut shiplap joints on them. So this is going to allow them to overlap about 3/16 of an inch, give them a chance to move and swell with the seasons instead of just locking them in place. And so each one needs a little bit of adjustment, so I go through each board, use a block plane, and kind of adjust the shiplap joints, make sure they're straight. I also round them over a little bit to give it more of a finished look. And on the last one, so I want a slight reveal on these, between these boards. I mean, a real thin reveal. And I usually will make them fit pretty tight in the case, and then the last board at the edge that doesn't have a shiplap joint, I'm going to hand plane a little off that and shrink that board down and then make up the difference through my gaps in the back. Hopefully that makes sense. I can do it on both sides, and that's how I get the gap I want. And here I am checking out to make sure the gaps look good and they're all even. So now I'm going to install the back. I'll put all the pieces in. You can see it's kind of a cool look because they're book matched in a way because they've been resawn. I'm using a chisel just to spread them out as I go and make sure that each spacing is the same and equal. It just looks, I don't measure it, I just eyeball it. I mean, you can look at it and tell if one's off. And then I just use a little pin nailer to nail them in place. And we're going to come back and put French cleats over the top of that to secure it. Now this is the engraving I was telling you about. This is the man who owned these swords. This is his name and when he was enlisted. And this was cut on the X-carve. I didn't show that, but it was just a simple V-carve. And I think it's a really cool touch to the case right in the front, right where you see it. And just looks real kind of classy and classic with that old font. Okay, so here is that Liberty safe I was telling you about. Now, I have the Lincoln series. It's the #1 rated safe in America. It has a 90-minute certification for fire protection. It's made out of 11-gauge steel, and it's got this really cool 5-point handle. Awesome to have in the shop. I love the interior, the LED lights, and it's got a dehumidifier, which is nice. It's a great place to store my tools away from my kids, away from a site. Also, when clients reach out to build display cases for valuable product, it's great to have that product in the shop, as the case is with these swords. And not having a safe to put them is just being kind of careless. If anyone's going to send me something like this that's priceless to them, I want to have it in a place where I know it is secured, it can't be stolen, and fire can't mess it up. So thank you, Liberty, for sending this. It's awesome, and I really love having it in the shop. So what I'm doing now is making the holder for the sword and the sheath. I'm calling it a sheath. I don't know if that's really what you call it, but that's what I'm calling it. I drill a hole first that kind of matches the radius of it, and then I just hand saw it out, and then you'll kind of see how this works here soon. So there it is. It's a really pretty nice fit. It just sits in there. I'm pretty sure that's a sheath. It covers a sword. Correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously the holder for that is going to be different than the holder for the sword. So I'm going to show you how I do that as well. The blade, I just basically cut a profile that matches the blade fairly close by hand. And I did do a little bit of chiseling. I have a chisel that could get in there and kind of clean it up. but basically all you want is something that the sword can rest in and not tip over and fall. So it doesn't have to be an exact perfect match to your blade, it just needs to secure it. And so I hung the case on the shop wall to make it easier to kind of do this and test it out. And surprisingly, this all worked really well. Last thing to do is put finish on this. I sprayed it with a pre-catalyzed lacquer from Sherwin-Williams. I'm using my Fuji sprayer. That white oak really pops this beautiful golden color, and I love the rift white oak. It's one of my favorite species. I have to spray obviously the case, the door, and then all the holders, and then I'll come in and assemble the holders. And the way I put those together is actually put a little blue tape where they go. You can almost see the spots in the case, and that leaves some raw wood. It blocks the finish so that I can kind of have something to glue to. And then I have a screw coming from the backside, and it just screws right on, and that's what holds that in place. It doesn't need to be super strong. Obviously the swords aren't crazy heavy, so it just needs to be stout enough to hold the sword. I use a square and just make sure that I have these lined up flush, and I wanted to keep them in a straight line within the case the best I could. And then I also made the hole in the back a little big so there was a little bit of play and movement, so I could make fine adjustments to how the swords sit in relation to each other. The gap was too close, so I could move it a little bit. Alright, now I've got to get the glass in. It's just 1/8 inch clear glass, and I just call it glass stop. It's just wooden 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch trim pieces that you cut to fit, and I nailed those in with a little brad nailer. One thing you didn't see in the video is the hinge pockets that I did. I just used butt hinges from Horton Brass. I think there were 2-inch long ones. Pretty simple to install. And I've done a few. I did a golf ball display case probably 20 videos back that showed the install of hinges. If you're interested in that, you can go dig around and find that. But for this case, I skipped on the hinges. So if you can't see it in the frame, but I'm holding the door open with my head, and the reason for that is I have tools above the case because it's hanging on my shop wall. You can't open the door all the way, but if there was no tools above the case, you could actually let the door rest up there and it would stay open. But it's a little awkward here. I'm having to use my head to hold the door and hang the swords at the same time. So the reason we have the handles going 2 different directions here as well is that there is actually, his name is engraved on the sword. So I wanted to show that engraving, and they were flipped. So the swords had to be flipped from top to bottom. I actually think it looked pretty cool and balanced it out a little bit. Okay, so I just wanted to show you guys kind of a run through of the finished case real quick. We have a cool United States Navy seal right here. Obviously the swords, almost can see the engraving right there. There's on that one. They fit in there nicely. You've got the front engraving right there as well, and then the same one on that sword. Very cool, great looking piece. I also wanted to show you guys the back of it. You got the cool dovetails, obviously that really looks nice, and then that rabbet that we did. The back, so you have 1/4 inch shiplap as you saw in the video, and then we have another 1/4 inch French cleat right here, and that flushes that up right there. I've got that all screwed in so it's super solid and strong, and then basically you'll screw a French cleat to the wall and just hang it on that cleat, and then you've got a few screws in here holding on the holders. Really pretty grain too in this rift white oak. Very cool piece. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave me some comments. Let me know what you think. And stay tuned for the next video.